Ever had trouble starting your car's engine or noticed your headlights dimming or flickering? You may have an alternator problem. The alternator, a vital part of your car's electrical system, works hand in hand with the battery. While your battery is primarily there to start your engine and power your electronics when the engine's off, your alternator carries the heavy load. It's the main power source for your electrical network when your engine's running. But what happens when this crucial component starts acting up? The signs can be as subtle as a hesitant engine start or as glaring as a dashboard warning light. And while these symptoms might not spell immediate doom, they do give you a chance to catch an impending breakdown before it happens. Knowing the signs of alternator failure can save you from unexpected breakdowns. Let's dive into the 7 key signs. First up, difficulty starting the engine. This is one of the primary symptoms of a failing alternator. When your alternator starts to give up the ghost, it often leads to an undercharged battery. This undercharge means your battery lacks the juice it needs to crank the starter properly, making your engine feel uncertain or sluggish. Now you might be asking, why is my battery undercharged? Well, that's where the role of the electronic regulator block comes in. The regulator controls the voltage produced by the alternator. When it fails, the alternator can produce more voltage than required, leading to an overcharged battery. This overcharge can cause rapid battery failure due to the boiling out of electrolyte. Remember, many modern cars won't even start if the voltage in the onboard network drops below 12 volts. So, if your engine is having trouble getting going, it could be a sign of a failing alternator. An uncertain engine start could be a sign of a failing alternator. The second sign to watch out for is dim or flickering headlights. You may notice this symptom more during the darker hours of the day. If your headlights are glowing dimly or changing brightness based on engine speed and load on the electrical system, it's a clear hint that your alternator may be struggling. It's not producing sufficient power to maintain consistent lighting, and it's time for a checkup. And it's not just your headlights. Pay attention to the dashboard and interior lighting too. If they're changing brightness in the same way, it's another telltale sign. These lighting inconsistencies aren't just inconvenient, they're a warning. Your alternator is not coping with the load imposed on it, and it's time for a revision and diagnosis. Remember, inconsistent brightness in your headlights could indicate an alternator issue. Thirdly, pay close attention to your dashboard. A warning light could be a clear sign of trouble. When the battery icon on your dashboard starts to flicker or stays lit, it's your car's onboard system waving a red flag. It's essentially saying, hey, the battery isn't charging as it should. This could be due to a variety of factors, but a faulty alternator is often the culprit. When your car's alternator fails, it ceases to supply the necessary power to keep your battery charged. This means your car is running on borrowed time, relying solely on the battery's residual charge. Depending on the battery's condition and the power demands of your vehicle's electrical devices, this might only get you a few tens of kilometers. So when that warning light pops up, don't shrug it off. It's a call to action. It's time to get your alternator checked. A warning light on your dashboard should never be ignored. It could be signaling an alternator failure. Moving on to our fourth sign, a whistling drive belt. It's not uncommon to hear an unpleasant whistling sound coming from under the hood of your car when it's not heated up. This can occur if the drive belt, which drives the alternator's rotor, is poorly tensioned. It's crucial to establish the cause of this weak belt tension and rectify the fault. If not, your alternator will not rotate at the proper speed, thus failing to charge the battery as it should. On many modern cars, this same belt drives other devices, such as the power steering pump and air conditioner compressor, and is automatically tensioned. However, on simpler models, the auto tensioner might not be designed to handle this. Over time, the belt stretches and requires manual tension adjustment. So, if you hear a whistling sound from under your hood, it's time to check your drive belt. It could be a sign that your alternator is not functioning optimally. Next on our list, the fifth sign, an overheated or deteriorated drive belt. You might notice characteristic smoke and an unpleasant odor coming from the drive belt, or even see tracks and pieces of rubber detaching from it. These are signs of jamming of an attachment unit, which could include the alternator or bypass rollers. On certain models, if the drive belt breaks, it can lead to not just the disconnection of the alternator, but also much more severe issues. Scraps can get under the timing belt, leading to a disruption in timing or even engine failure. So if you notice your belt overheating or spontaneously deteriorating, it's time to check the alternator pulley. It should rotate easily and not skew under load. Any difficulty could indicate a problem with your alternator. In our exploration of signs of alternator failure, let's move on to the sixth sign, a ringing or rustling sound coming from under the hood. This noise, often overlooked, can be a clear indication of trouble brewing in your vehicle's alternator. Inside the alternator, there are rolling bearings. These components endure high loads and function at elevated temperatures, making them prone to wear and tear and relatively short-lived. Over time, these parts can lose their lubrication, leading to noise, skewing, and jamming of the rotor, or even complete destruction of the bearings. Another possible source of this noise could be a worn overrunning or damping clutch. This clutch, like the bearings, has a relatively short lifespan and can become deformed and fail to perform its function. Both of these faults cannot be corrected without removing and disassembling the alternator. So if you've noticed a ringing or rustling sound emanating from under your vehicle's hood, it's time to investigate the alternator. Ignoring these sounds could lead to more severe issues down the line. Continuing our journey through the signs of alternator failure, we arrive at the seventh sign, an electrical hum, similar to the sound coming from electric motors of public transportation like trolleybuses, streetcars, or electric trains. This peculiar sound characterizes a shorting of the stator winding in your alternator. The stator winding plays a critical role in the alternator's function, and its shorting can lead to severe problems, akin to a gearbox malfunction or timing belt breakage. Unfortunately, this is not an issue that can be resolved without special tools, spare parts, and a level of experience or expertise. Therefore, be proactive. Make it a rule to carry out a defect inspection and repair of the alternator with removal from the car at least once every 80,000 miles. While this can be done by yourself, it is often more convenient and faster to use the services of specialized firms. Remember, professional help in such a scenario can save you from the insidious consequences of alternator failure. So, if you hear a distinctive electrical hum from your vehicle, don't ignore it. It could be a sign that your alternator is on the brink of failure. To wrap up, your alternator plays a crucial role in your car's functioning. It's the lifeblood of your car's electrical system, powering everything from your headlights to the starter. A failing alternator can manifest in various ways, from difficulty starting the engine, dim or flickering headlights, to a warning light on your dashboard. These signs are not to be taken lightly. They are your car's way of communicating that something is wrong. Ignoring them could lead to more serious issues down the line, including complete alternator failure. Early detection is key to preventing bigger problems. It's also worth noting that a faulty alternator can result in a battery being undercharged or overcharged, both of which can lead to their own set of problems. So keep an eye out for these signs and take action at the first sign of trouble. Remember, knowing these signs of alternator failure can save you from unexpected breakdowns. Stay vigilant and keep your car running smoothly.